Based on what you found through your interviews and your research for this piece, what have been the key attributes of successful USAID administrators?
Well, I think the first one that really stands out, and which will not be very surprising, is administrators who have some development experience are much more likely to succeed in the job. What I think is really remarkable is the number of administrators over the years that have been given that really important job with little or no development experience. And I think if you could look at their CV and if you didn't see any development experience on there, the odds that they were going to be a failure or subpar was pretty high.
And so were those typically political appointees who found themselves in, positions because of some previous favor they'd done to the administration?
It's a mixed bag. There were some that were kind of classic crony politics that were being given the job because they'd lost a governor's race or had raised a lot of money in Nebraska. But I think there's also the sense that people at the State Department and in the White House don't always appreciate that development is a unique endeavor. And I think there's a sense that, well, so-and-so was a very successful businessman. Daniel Parker, who ran the agency in the 1973, had run Parker Pens, a very successful pen company. They sold pens very well. They made them, they marketed them, they understood systems. But that's really different than understanding what goes on in the ground in the developing world. So I think some of it is just raw politics, but some of it is just a wish, and I think at times wishful thinking, that some of these experiences can be imported. And I think that's the other thing that really stood out in looking at the most successful administrators was that they understood that they had to manage the constituency of people who care about development. Those Republican administrators who did really well were willing to talk about basic human needs. They were willing to talk about people. They were willing to talk about women and children. The Democrats who did really well were willing to talk about economic growth. And I think that willingness to come to the center for an administrator is a really important tool. And also an understanding that you've got to bring Congress along. You've got lots of NGOs, you've got for-profit contractors, you've got heads of states, you've got ambassadors, you've got key constituencies in the State Department and the White House. That's a lot of care and feeding to do, and I think it takes a really deliberate strategy. And I think even some very well-intentioned administrators got crosswise of those currents and ended up having tenures that were much less effective because of that.